Portugal is a coastal nation in southwestern Europe, located at the western end of the Iberian Peninsula, bordering Spain. The Portuguese territory also includes a series of archipelagos in the Atlantic Ocean, which are strategic islands along the North Atlantic. The extreme south is not too far from the Strait of Gibraltar, leading to the Mediterranean Sea. In total, the country occupies an area of 92,090 square kilometers, of which 91,470 square kilometers is land and 620 square kilometers water. Despite these definitions, the Portugal-Spain border remains an unresolved territorial dispute between the two countries. Portugal does not recognize the border between Caia and Ribeira de Cunco's river deltas. Since the beginning of the 1801 occupation of Olivenza by Spain, this territory, though under de facto Spanish occupation, remains a de jure part of Portugal. Consequently, no border is henceforth recognized in this area. Physical. Portugal is located on the western coast of the Iberian Peninsula and Plateau, that divides the inland Mediterranean Sea from the Atlantic Ocean. It is located on the Atlantic coast of this plateau, and crossed by several rivers which have their origin in Spain. Most of these rivers flow from east to west, disgorging in the Atlantic. From north to south, the primary rivers are the Minho, Douro, Mondego, Tagus and the Guardian. Coastline. The continental shelf has an area of 28,000 square kilometers. Although its width is variable from 150 kilometers in the north to 25 kilometers in the south, its strong relief is marked by deep submarine canyons and the continuation of the main rivers. The Estremadura spur separates the Iberian abyssal and Tagus abyssal plains, while the continental slope is flanked by seamounts and abuts against the prominent Goringa bank in the south. Currently, the Portuguese government claims a 200-meter depth, or to a depth of exploitation. The Portuguese coast is extensive, in addition to approximately 943 kilometers along the coast of continental Portugal. The archipelagos of the Azores and Madeira are primarily surrounded by rough cliff coastlines. Most of these landscapes alternate between rough cliffs and fine sand beaches. The region of the Algarve is recognized for its sand beaches, popular with tourists, while at the same time its steep coastlines around Cape St. Vincent is well known for steep and foreboding cliffs. An interesting feature of the Portuguese coast is Rio Formosa, with some sandy islands and a mild and pleasant climate characterized by warm but not very hot summers and generally mild winters. Alternatively, the Rio de Janeiro coast is formed by a delta length and a maximum 11 km width, rich in fish and seabirds. Four main channels flow through several islands and islets at the mouth of the Vuga, Antua, Boco, and Fonteo rivers. Since the 16th century, this formation of narrow headlands formed a lagoon that, due to its characteristics, allowed the formation and production of salt. It was also recognized by the Romans, whose forces exported its salt to Rome. The Azores are also sprinkled with both alternating black sand and boulder-lined beaches. With only a rare exception is there a white sand beach rise in sea levels, causing large estuaries and inland deltas in some major rivers to overflow. As a result of its maritime possessions and coastline, Portugal has the third largest exclusive economic zone of the European Union countries, the Sea Zone, over which Portugal exercises special territorial rights over the economic exploration and use of marine resources, encircles an area of 1,727,408 square kilometers. Continent. The Portuguese territory came into existence during the history of Gondwana and became aligned with European landforms after the supercontinent Pangaea began its slow separation into several smaller plates. The Iberian Plate was formed during the Cadomian orogeny of the late Neoproterozoic, from the margins of the Gondwana continent. Through collisions and accretion, a group of island arcs began to disintegrate from Gondwana. These plates never separated substantially from each other since this period. By the Mesozoic, the three Portuguese plates were a part of the northern France Armoric plate until the Bay of Biscay began to separate. Following the separation of the Iberian abyssal plain, Iberia and Europe began to drift progressively from North America, as the mid-Atlantic fracture zone pulled the three plates away from the larger continent. Eventually, Iberia collided with southern France, attaching the region into a peninsula of Europe. Since the later Oligocene, the Iberian plate has been moving as part of the Eurasian plate, with the boundary between Eurasia and Africa situated along the Azores-Gibraltar fracture zone. The Iberian Peninsula, defined by its coastline, is due to a fragment of the Variscan tectonic fracture zone, the Iberian-Hesperian Massif, which occupies the west-central part of the plateau. This formation is crossed by the central system, along an east-northeast to west-southwest alignment, parallel to the European Biotic chain. The central Cordillera is itself divided into two blocks, while three main river systems drain the differing geomorphological terrains. The northern Meseta is drained by the Douro River. The southern Meseta altitude is drained by the Tagus River from Spain, and the Guadiana River, comprising the lower Tagus and Sado basins. To the north the landscape is mountainous in the interior areas with plateaus, cut by four breakings lines that allow the development of more fertile agricultural areas. The south down as far as the Algarve features mostly rolling plains with a climate somewhat warmer and drier than the cooler and rainier north. Other major rivers include the Douro, the Minho and the Guadiana, similar to the Tagus in that all originate in Spain. Another important river, the Mondego, originates in the Serra da Estrela. No large natural lakes exist in continental Portugal, and the largest inland water surfaces of dam-originated reservoirs, such as the Algarve Reservoir with 250 square kilometers, the largest in Europe. However, there are several small freshwater lakes in Portugal, the most notable of which are located in Serra da Estrela, Lake Comprida and Lake Escura, which were formed from ancient glaciers. Patera de Formenteros is a small natural lake near Aveiro, the largest natural lake in the Iberian Peninsula and with rich wildlife. In the Azores archipelago, lakes were formed in the caldera of extinct volcanoes. Lagoa do Fogo and Lagoa das Sete Cidades are the most famous lakes in São Miguel Island. Lagoons in the shores of the Atlantic exist. For instance, the Albufeira Lagoon and Óbidos Lagoon. Archipelagos. In addition to continental Europe, Portugal consists of two autonomous regions in the Atlantic Ocean, consisting of the archipelagos of Madeira and Azores. Madeira is located on the African tectonic plate, and comprises the main island of Madeira, Porto Santo and the smaller Savage Islands. The Azores, which are located between the junction of the African, European and North American plates, straddle the mid-Atlantic ridge. There are 9 islands in this archipelago, usually divided into 3 groups and several smaller formagas located between São Miguel and Santa Maria Islands. Both island groups are volcanic in nature, with historic volcanology and seismic activity persisting to the present time. In addition, there are several submarine volcanoes in the Azores that have erupted historically. The last major volcanic event occurred in 1957–58 along the western coast of Faial Island, which formed the Capeliños volcano. Seismic events are common in the Azores. The Azores are occasionally subject to very strong earthquakes, as is the continental coast. Wildfires occur mostly in the summer in mainland Portugal, and extreme weather in the form of strong winds and floods also occurs mainly in winter. The Azores are occasionally stricken by tropical cyclones such as Hurricane Jean and Hurricane Gordon. Climate. Most of Portugal has a mixture of Mediterranean climate and oceanic climate according to the Köppen climate classification. CSA in the lands south of Tagus River, inland Douro Valley in the north and Madeira Islands. The CSB pattern can be found north of that river, Costa Vicentina in coastal southern Portugal, and the eastern group of the Azores Islands. Most of the Azores have an oceanic climate or CFB, while a small region in inland Alentejo has BSK or semi-arid climate. The Savage Islands, that belong to the Madeira archipelago, also has an arid climate with an annual average rainfall of around 150 mm. The sea surface temperatures in these archipelagos vary from 16 to 18 degrees Celsius in winter to 23 to 24 degrees Celsius in the summer, occasionally reaching 26 degrees Celsius. The annual average temperature in mainland Portugal varies from 12 to 13 degrees Celsius in the mountainous interior north to 17 to 18 degrees Celsius in the south. The Madeira and Azores archipelagos have a narrower temperature range, with the annual average temperature sometimes exceeding 20 degrees Celsius in the south coast of Madeira Island. Extreme temperatures occur in the mountains in the northeast of the country in winter, where they may fall to -15 degrees Celsius or sometimes below -20 degrees Celsius. Particularly in the higher peaks of Serra da Estrela, and in southeastern parts in the summer, sometimes exceeding 45 degrees Celsius. The official absolute extreme temperatures are -16 degrees Celsius in Penhas da Sauda on 4 February 1954 and 47.4 degrees Celsius in Amaralha in the Alentejo region, on 1 August 2003. There are, however, unofficial records of 50.5 degrees Celsius on 4 August 1881 in Riodades, São João da Pesqueira. It's very plausible since this region is known for its microclimate. There are also records of -17.5 degrees Celsius from a Polytechnic Institute in Bragança. The annual average rainfall varies from a bit more than 3,000 mm in the mountains in the north to less than 600 mm in southern parts of Alentejo. Portugal as a whole is amongst the sunniest areas in Europe, with around 2500–3200 hours of sunshine a year, an average of 4 to 6h in winter and 10 to 12h in the summer, with higher values in the southeast and lower in the northwest. The sea surface temperature is higher in the south coast, where it varies from 15 to 16 degrees Celsius in January to 22 to 23 degrees Celsius in August, occasionally reaching 25 degrees Celsius. On the west coast, the sea surface temperature is around 14 to 15 degrees Celsius in winter and 18 to 20 degrees Celsius in the summer. Environment. Current issues. Soil erosion, air pollution caused by industrial and vehicle emissions, water pollution, especially in coastal areas. Environment, international agreements. Party 2. Air pollution, biodiversity, climate change, desertification, endangered species, hazardous wastes, law of the sea, marine dumping, marine life conservation, ozone layer protection, ship pollution, tropical timber 83, tropical timber 94, wetlands signed, but not ratified, air pollution, persistent organic pollutants, air pollution, volatile organic compounds, climate change, Kyoto Protocol, environmental modification, nuclear test ban, terrain, mountainous and hilly north of the Tagus River, rolling plains in south, elevation extremes, lowest point, Atlantic Ocean 0 meters, highest point, Ponta do Pico on Ilha do Pico in the Azores 2,351 meters, natural resources, fish forests, tungsten, iron ore, uranium ore, marble, arable land, hydroelectric power, land use, arable land, 26% permanent crops, 9% permanent pastures, 9% forests and woodland, 36% other, 20% irrigated land.